up that they're recording.
Okay.
Hi guys,
And
welcome. Sorry, I'll just read this out, Sarah. Welcome to the Overeaters Anonymous Recovery from Relapse meeting. Today is Tuesday, the 1st of June, 2021, and I am absolutely delighted today to welcome our speaker, Sarah W. from Iowa, who will share her experience, strength, and hope. Sarah has been in OA since 1995, has been abstinent since October 2019. So Sarah, I'll let you explain your story. Take it away.
All right, thank you. For some reason it muted. If you could let Carla screen share so she could put my pictures up. She's on here somewhere, but she has all my pictures and she's willing to do that. So I wanted to share how I came into program first. Since this is a relapse and recovery meeting, I want to go into that, but I want to talk a little bit about how I came in. My history is that I was an adopted child from New York. I always had issues about feeling not enough, feeling like I didn't fit in, not feeling like I was attractive, not feeling like I belonged, and just a lot of abandonment issues. And when I came to my parents, I was 9 months old. I had been in a foundling home, basically like an orphanage. And so I had never really been nurtured. So I was adopted by a couple who had infertility issues. My father was a doctor and basically came into a Jewish home. The only reason I bring that up is because that was a big piece of what they felt was very important to them. And there was a lot of control issues and a lot of conditions. So even though I know that they loved me as they did, what I needed was a lot of unconditional love, which I really don't feel like I received. And I don't know if they were really able to give that. So when I came to them, I was quite chubby. Carla, are you on? Can you put my pictures up? I don't know if you've allowed her to screen share.
Right. Sarah, I'm on, and I don't have the ability to screen share. Now I do. Okay, so here we go.
Thank you so much, Carla. So that's, thank you so much, Carla, for doing that for me. So this is me when I was, this is pretty early on, and you can see I was chubby. What I noticed about myself, and Carla did all these pictures for me. She did a fantastic job. I didn't really look very happy, even as a little girl. And my brother was adopted when I was 5. He's 4 years younger than me, maybe 4.5. And I think I really just struggled so much with that because I felt like my parents, all their attention was on him. At first, I was told, you're the chosen child. And you can see from early on, I was chubby. What I understand about being in that foundling home is that the bottle was propped and I had, that was how I self-soothed. And that's me with my mother. And, I wasn't really that heavy until puberty. At puberty, I really gained a lot of weight. And I think a lot of it had to do with my feelings about my sexuality and feeling comfortable. And, my father was of the sort that would make comments about women and their bodies. And, I'm not sure if there was any incest that went on at an early age, but I have a feeling there probably was. I can remember him coming into the room at night. Sometimes we repress a lot of things from our history. But what I know today is that I can't sit in the past. I can look back in the rearview mirror, which is small, but I need to stay in today, especially stay in today, and then move forward. But this was, again, really not a very happy young lady. And I never really applied myself that much. And when I was 13, I was sent away to boarding school. And I feel like that re-traumatized me, and I got into drugs and alcohol, and my food addiction really got heavy at that point. I would go into the bathroom and I would binge on large amounts of stuff. And so this was right before that picture where I'm somewhat smiling is right before I started really gaining weight. And I think one of the reasons was because I was somewhat attractive, and I think I was really uncomfortable with men's attention. And if you'll move along a little bit, one of the things that you'll see, I love to hike, and that's one of the things that I do the most. So, and that was in Arizona, where I was for 28 years. I came into recovery in Arizona in 1995. But I've had, this is my fourth marriage. I've been married almost 20 years now to my husband now, and it's a recovery marriage, and I'm so grateful for that. But going back, that's my mother and father. I always was very curious about my birth parents, and it was a closed adoption. I was born in 1956, and so back then in New York, there are sealed records. And this picture of me is when I graduated nursing school in 1986. And I was a nurse for 30 years. And my dad was a doctor. And I think that was a connection that I had with him. You know, I wanted to help people. But, you know, sometimes when we want to help, it really is, you know, we have to check our motives. And a lot of it was for my own sense of self. You know, was I doing it to really help, or was I doing it to feel good about myself? I think a little bit of both, but for me, it was there was a lot of codependency there, and there was a lot of codependency with me in all my relationships. And you know, you can move on, Carla. And you know, I did not know how to. You can see how thin I got here. There, I was pregnant with my son. That's my little girl, who is now 43 years old. But you know. So my eating behaviors were up and down, mostly carb related, lots of sugar and starch. But here, you know, I have done the Pay For program a bazillion times. I don't even know how many times. And I did lose weight. You know, you can see I was very thin there. But there, when my father came, I can remember I was in Arizona and they were in New York. And I can remember my father made a comment about me. I was wearing a bathing suit, and oh man, I wanted to crawl under a rock. I mean, I was so uncomfortable. And so, you know, there's a lot of issues around sexuality for me with my weight. And that's about what I weigh now, what I am there, maybe a little bit, I'm a little bit more than that, but not much. I've been working really hard at it. And if we go a little for, and you know, I have to say this out loud, because I sponsor a lot of people. Weight is not the issue, because you know, my head can be filled with the craziest things when I'm physically abstinent with my food, but I'm not emotionally sober with my behaviors, because I think really it's all about that. It's about emotional sobriety, and it's about learning to love myself in the process of getting there. Now here you can see I was that's right before I came into program in that with the three women. And I was my weight that I think I was, and I'm not sure because I may have been even a little heavier than that, was 222, and I'm 5'6" and a half, 5'7". And then that's me in program. And, you know, I can see myself like genuinely happy. And that's, and I know she wouldn't mind. That's my second sponsor, who is sponsoring me now again. And I'm so grateful for her. But if we move on a little bit, and I'll, so, you know, here I had lost, you know, so 1995, I was, you know, I was a battered wife in my first marriage, very abused, alcohol, drugs, and it was on his part some sex addiction. And I can remember things like he would leave from Friday night, take all the money and leave me with no vehicle. And I had a little girl. And these are the things that I put up with. And then I would beg for him to stay. I would beg for him to come back. And this is what I mean about the codependency being at the root of all this stuff for me. I'm not saying anybody else, but for me. And so I had no self-esteem. I didn't believe that I was worthy of good. You know, the voices in my head would say, you know, you're damaged goods. Nobody wanted you when you were born, and nobody wants you now. and, just stuff my face, really. And food was my primary addictive behavior, but I also used smoking marijuana. And so in 1995, I got into a, a therapist's office, and I was heavy, as you saw. And she said to me, Sarah, when are you going to stop hiding behind your weight? And she said, have you ever heard of OA? And at that point, the light went on, and, obviously it was divine intervention. God meant for it to happen for me, but it hasn't been smooth sailing for me. So this picture where I'm in the skirt and the top, this was 3 or 4 years into my program. And I have to say, our invitation to you was like a beacon of light. It was like saying to me, oh my God, these people can love me. I can find a family of choice, which friends basically can be. And look at how nice I looked. I really looked great. But, I wasn't really practicing the program with 10-step work. And I think it really has to be that, whether it looks like it's perfect 10-step or not, I have to release emotions that feel like, restless, irritable, and discontent do not go away just because we work steps. It comes back, and sometimes we're triggered by things. So if we move down a little bit, Carla, and so I met my husband. I had good abstinence, but like I said, I was really working out. I think exercise is an important piece of the program that should be really a tool in our program, but it's something that's important for me. And I'm telling my story. I'm not telling OA's story. So, take what you like and leave the rest. But here I am with my husband now, and you can see how heavy I got. And, we became eating buddies. And I came out to Iowa. I was living in, I was from New York. When I was 17, I moved to Arizona. And then I had my first child, and then I married my second husband, I had my second child. And then I married somebody that was in recovery with my third husband, and he was an addictions counselor, and he had such severe PTSD that it was really crazy making. So just because someone's an addictions counselor is in recovery does not mean they are healthy. I just want to say that out loud. That doesn't mean that everybody isn't, but there are people that aren't working a program that is healthy, and it's just the way it is. And God bless them. We're all sick people, but we're all on the road, hopefully trying to get better. So here I am. This was during this marriage. And so about 8 years ago, at this heavy weight, that in the picture with the mostly my face, I was 278 pounds at my highest weight that I saw, that I got on a scale. And you know how we are, we don't get on a scale. And I was so miserable. And I had done, the pay for program again. I'm not going to mention names because it's an outside issue, but, probably 4 different types of pay for programs I've done. I have lost weight with them. I did liquid protein. I've done the cabbage diet. I've done, excessive exercise, I practiced some bulimia. I mean, I've done the gamut. The only thing I haven't done is anorexia. For some reason, I just, So anyway, this is really up to date pretty much at this point. So I started out at 278 8 years ago, and I currently I got on the scale 2 days ago, and I was 154. And I wear like a size 8 or a 10, and my heaviest I wore a size 24. And what I want to say is the reason I think I got abstinent after my relapse, and one of the things I heard yesterday that was really good that I heard. How am I doing for time, by the way?
You're at 14 minutes. Actually,
oh, okay.
I'm sorry, 20. You're at US. Yeah, you're at 15 minutes.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for doing that service. So I have to say that when I finally and I came back into program in like 8 years ago, and I was a Vision for You person, by the way. And I was very active in Vision for You, and Vision for You really helped me. But even before that, I got into primary purpose meetings, and I also got into Hour of Power, which are two different types of phone meetings that they had that were OA. And before that, I got into, they had a interesting online chat meeting that really started me back in, and that was a combination of Weight Watchers with OA, that I met somebody that started to help me on my journey. It was like, sometimes we need glimpses, sometimes, I don't want anything shoved down my throat. I don't know about you guys, but I'm a very rebellious personality. I'm not a person that just says, okay, you can tell me what to do and I'm going to do it. There's no way. And people that know me know that. I'm a person that travels to the beat of my own drum. I am a person that likes to, I like living on the fringes. And yet I was really willing to listen, but then form my own opinions. We're not, I don't know if you ever saw Stepford Wives, but I'm not a Stepford wife. I'm not like, okay, everybody in OA is the same and we all think the same and we all need the same. No, that's why we have different food plans. And in all honesty, that's why we have different ways of working the program. The one thing I have to say is that the steps are the steps are the steps. I mean, that's what it is. So, I am powerless. I'm powerless over food, and my life was unmanageable. And this is how I say my first 3 steps. I say I'm powerless over food, alcohol, drugs, people, places, and things, and my life is unmanageable. But I've come to believe that I can, will, and am being restored to sanity. And I've made a decision to turn my will and my life over to your care, and all of the people that I love and this whole world over to your care, praying only for knowledge of your will for me and for them, and the power to carry that out. And in all honesty, and those who know me, I do a lot of service and recovery, a lot. I'm very involved. I am sponsored. I do sponsor. I work a few other programs because I feel like that's what I need, and that's perfectly okay. I'm here to talk about OA, but it is not just about the food and the weight. That is the smallest part. But how much am I willing to never abandon myself again, to stop hurting myself? And, I've heard this thing, it's like all action is born in thought. Not always. All thought can be born in action. When I start doing esteemable things and things that are healthy for myself, my thoughts get so much better. When I start saying, oh my gosh, look what happened this morning. My computer went out. I could not figure out what I was going to do. And I just prayed and said, okay, it's going to all work out. I got on the Zoom on the phone. Then my husband was asleep upstairs. I called him and I said, can you please bring your computer in here so I can get on the Zoom meeting? I mean, we don't have to fall apart. I overheard somebody speaking at the beginning of the meeting about being a survivor. I'm a cancer survivor. I had breast cancer. It'll be 5 years this July. I thank God they caught it. And I just want to put a plug in, even though it is an outside issue, that if you haven't had a mammogram, please go and take care of yourself and do that. Because I had no symptoms. I had nothing. And I was diagnosed with it right there and then on the spot at my mammogram. And at that point, then I had a partial mastectomy, and I had radiation. And I'm grateful to say that my husband was very supportive of me. And I also have to say that, I don't know what's best for you. And I'm not here to tell anybody what they need to do. I have a person on here that I sponsor, and, they'll tell you. I mean, I will ask, would you like to hear some thoughts I have about that? But for me, I'm not here to tell anybody what their life should be. I don't want to be responsible for that. To me, that's unhealthy thinking. That's control. What I want to be able to do is share what I've done and what I've heard other people have done. And is that something that you want to hear? And is that something you're willing to try? Because you may need to have, I mean, I needed every bite I took. And in all honesty, sometimes the food kept me from killing myself. My discomfort, my dis-ease was so great that I really didn't want to feel. I didn't want to feel the pain of the loss, of the grief, of not having a mom and dad that really loved me unconditionally when and today I have to say, this is a beautiful piece of my program. I work with children. I haven't done nursing for the last 4 years. I work with, and I'm 64. I work with children in a public school system that are behavior kids. I'm one-on-one. I work as a para or a teacher's associate. And I work with kids that kick, scream, bite, and that feel unloved. That is and I am sorry about the difficulty this morning with the pictures and all that stuff. That was really me. And today what I know is that the program for me has to be very compassionate and loving. There cannot be any abuse or any kind of punitive, I don't even like to say defects of character. I'll be honest with you. I don't like to say the word sin. The words for me is poor coping skills. Inability to understand how to have relationships, difficulty with sharing my feelings or sharing my thoughts. And it's always about learning. Everything for me is an opportunity to grow and learn. And I wanted to read something from the big book that has a lot of meaning for me because, I've started numerous meetings. I started a meeting here in Iowa years ago, and at this point we've disbanded, but, I've done that numerous times. It's just a hard place to start a meeting. But I wanted to read from not acceptance was the answer, although I love that, but from yeah, I'm thinking of it. When you get older, you start to lose your brain a little bit, and it's okay. But Keys of the Kingdom, and I think it's somewhere around 3:30, if I'm not mistaken. But we used to close our meeting with that, and for me, I probably need to. I don't know why I can't find it now. Here we go. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna read it the way it's written in the big book because that's what we're told we're supposed to do. We're really not supposed to change the wording, but I hope you can hear OA in here when I read it. So this starts on page 275. AA is not a plan for recovery that can be finished and done with. It is a way of life. And the challenge contained in its principles is great enough to keep any human being striving for as long as he lives. We do not and cannot outgrow this plan. As arrested alcoholics, we must have a program for living that allows for limitless expansion. Keeping one foot in front of the other is essential for maintaining our arrestment. Others may idle in a retrogressive groove without too much danger, but retrogression can spell death for us. However, this isn't as rough as it sounds, as we do become grateful for the necessity that makes us toe the line, and we find that we are compensated for a consistent effort by the countless dividends we receive. A complete change takes place in our approach to life. Where we used to run from responsibility, we find ourselves accepting it with gratitude that we can successfully shoulder it. Instead of wanting to escape from some perplexing problem, we experience the thrill of challenge in the opportunity it affords for another application of AA techniques, and we find ourselves tackling it with surprising vigor. There is no more aloneness with that awful ache so deep in the heart of every alcoholic that nothing before could ever reach it. That ache is gone and need never return again. Now there is a sense of belonging, of being wanted and needed and loved. In return for a bottle and a hangover, we have been given the keys of the kingdom. So I just want to share a little bit about my plan of eating, and I'm not going to get into specifics, but my sponsor at one point, because I kept on doing this thing, and the reason I bring this up is because this is about relapse.
You're at 25 minutes, just so you know.
Perfect. It's perfect timing. Thank you so much, Kimberly. So just the thing that came up for me is that I had never been willing to think that it was healthy to put down flour. I did put down sugar, but it wasn't like I was doing it consistently and purely and all that. So my sponsor, because I was up and down, and I think I was like, I had gained weight, and I was like maybe 180 or 190 pounds. And she said to me, Sarah, when are you going to stop messing around with this? And I was really pissed off. I was really annoyed. And I thought, how dare you talk to me like that? I'm doing everything I can. And I really let it sit for a while, because that's what I've been taught to do. Pause, use the sacred pause, and don't just act on something. And, it was like God was speaking to me, and God said, Sarah, try something different, even though you don't want to. Do it because it may really help you. So I looked into this other program that, is very much about no flour, no sugar, no gluten, no wheat. No cheese, no nuts. And it worked for me. And I never, I'm a nurse. I look at things, I want to have a balance in my life. I don't want to be really rigid about things. I want to have a balanced plan of eating. But this was so much food and such healthy food. And I started to feel so good on this plan of eating. And I thought, wow. And the weight just started to come off slowly, but beautifully and in a healthy way. And I have to tell you, people that know me, I hike between, 2 and 5 miles at least 3 to 4 times a week. And then I walk 2 miles a day, typically, if I don't do the hiking. And I feel so good. And I work out with weights, and my husband does too. And he's coming to OA too, and he's lost like 70 pounds also. But we both feel so good. And, life is short, and we deserve the best. We deserve the best. We deserve to feel good about ourselves. And, my sponsor said to me years ago, don't wait till you lose your weight to feel good about yourself. Start looking at yourself and saying, I love me for me today, not when I get there. So that's what I invite you to do. I invite you to love you for you. You're the only you there is. And I'm not the greatest speaker in the world. All I can offer is what I've gone through in my life. And I am so grateful to be who I am. So grateful to be cancer-free. I'm so grateful to have the program. I'm so grateful to be willing. So my prayers are that we all find our way to peace, harmony, abstinence, and a healthy, balanced way of living. And with that, I pass. Thank you.